Okay, so we're back for part two. And again, for those of you that would like to join our Zoom, please feel free. It's a safe space for anyone to talk about. For people to talk about whatever that they want to talk, whatever's coming up for you, right? I will leave a description in the link below and you can join us. I'll invite you. Hey, Monique.
Hey, lady.
All right, so something else that came up for me, and it's about the twin flame thingy.
No,
Um,
that's good.
so yeah, a lot of people seem to think, that as time goes on, and
Hmm.
they think, oh God, I'm still thinking about him or her, and so maybe I'm still need some healing to do, whatever. But there's nothing wrong with thinking about them.
No.
That's what's coming up.
Mhm.
It's natural. It will stop when it stops. It will end when it ends.
Right.
It's natural for that to happen.
No, I agree with you. I had a twin flame coach. We've talked about that before. And I watched a lot of videos from another coach that I really resonated with. And both of them did say, like, feel what you feel. You're allowed to feel the feelings. Don't deny the feelings that are coming up. But they would
Mhm.
recommend that you put all the things that they gave you away, not for reminders. So just you know, because the person they're talking to the person apparently, in that respect about don't check their social media, try to avoid things that trigger, the pain because you're already in so much of the obsessiveness about the apparent other, right? Like you can't stop it anyway. It's ridiculous. It's like a clock that's just spinning like from Back to the Future. You can't like there's nothing you can do. Like you just other than act on things that are harmful, like calling them or stalking them or going by their house or not that there's anything wrong with those things. If they appear to happen, they appear to happen, but they're not ever going to energetically. I still believe that there's a polarization there that those type of things will never help you. They're just going to feed the apparent problem, but you're going to do what you're going to do anyway. It's going to play out the way it's going to play out, and it'll go away when it goes away. Like you said, when the energy dissipates and goes away or whatever that is that causes that heartbreak or whatever finally goes away, it goes away. Like, you know, it goes
Yeah.
away. And here, like, I had obsessive thoughts for a long time. And I would occasionally check the Facebook, but thankfully he lived so far away, like hundreds of miles, that I couldn't drive by his house because I'm sure I would have done that too, in the beginning. But now like I think about him like maybe once a day, but not in a way that's obsessive at all. Like it's not even like thinking about him. Just the name will pop up in my head and it'll be like poof, gone.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of gratitude here for that because man, the character never thought they would be done with it. I thought it was going to be till I took my last breath, and there's a lot of gratitude that finally. So for people who are watching this and thinking there's I love my twin flame, I'll never get past it. You will. It will go goes away, but you will. There's life after the catalyst that this journey, their apparent journey, because there's no one to have it, but there's
Yeah.
life after, and you know
Yeah.
that too.
Well,
There's
yeah,
life after.
because mine's has gotten like, I don't even know if there's love there anymore. Like that's dwindled away. Like it's just if it comes up, if they come up, they come up, but there's no like, I don't know. It's just nothing anymore. And
Yeah.
do I think that, yeah, did they come up? Do I think about them here and there? Yeah, it pops up. It does.
Yeah.
And some people may think, well, you talk about twin flames. Well, I talk about it because I feel like there's people out there that they need to hear this, that don't have someone to talk to about it. So, yeah. So, like being at peace with yourself when it comes to the whole twin flame thing will happen when it happens. And who's to say that you'll always be at peace? I mean, you're going to have your moments, I mean, I haven't had them in a long time, and a long, long time. I've gotten to a point now where it's just nothing anymore. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's nothing. It just feels like, at least here too, the attachment is just, there's no real attachment anymore. It's finally gone. And it's
Yeah.
like, and when you're in it, it feels like, it will never go away. Like,
Hmm.
but here at the end, appears to be the end of it. There's just so much gratitude for what apparently happened, because it changed everything. Uh, Meeting that apparent other, or whatever, other self, whatever you want to call it, and that's all in the story, began something to get, and even though you never really get anywhere, but the realization appeared to happen, and that to me was worth every single bit of the apparent pain and depth of feeling like I'm dying that I went through. Because, man, like, even though everything is dead on and you feel everything, it's in your face, it's just, at least here, easier.
Yeah. What's so funny too? I was thinking when I was driving, things always come to me either when I'm in the shower or if I'm out and about doing things. In the story, they would call it downloads. I receive downloads
Yeah,
while
yeah.
I used to call it that, but now it's just what's coming up. But what came up for me is I was like, wow, if thinking back, I don't ever remember seeing numbers and shit before spirituality happened to me. Like when spirituality and the twin flame thing happened, all of a sudden numbers started to appear. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, that's so unexplainable, and what else? The
It,
birds. I don't know, birds was drawn it, but it's like everywhere I would look, and I never used to notice birds back when I was, doing my thing, but the moment I became spiritual and the twin flame thing, no, it started with the twin flame. I noticed crows. Crows would gravitate towards me, or I don't know. It's just like I would like, what I mean? It's like they were speaking. It was weird. I don't know. But they would come in flocks, and geese would come in flocks. Or when I would see an eagle, I would be at awe, or a hawk. And that's when the seeking would happen. Like I wanted to know what it meant. Why was I so drawn to these birds? Like I've never been a bird person, but all of a sudden, the twin flame thing happens, spirituality apparently happens, and then all these numbers and birds and all these synchronicities, whatever happen. I don't know. It's just,
it's
you know,
crazy. When that first started appearing here, like I was seeing 1111 everywhere, 11 or 111, 211, 311. I mean, it was all day, and it's still all the time. Like today, I don't know how many times. It's so natural now that I don't get so wowed before. Like there's no attachment to it anymore. But like you, it's constant, right? I look, it's something 11, 211, or 11, or it's 143 or 243 or 43 seconds when I hit the microwave and I look at it. Like or I could be talking to my daughter and just have an urge to pick up my phone to look at something, and it's something 343. It's like it's so bizarro but cool, but like there's no like wow factor. And I remember when I first started seeing 11s, I was in my backyard. This is where I used to live. This was pretty early in, after the ghosting of my twin flame or whatever, and kundalini, all that stuff. But I was in my backyard, and I didn't have a fence in my yard, right? So I was walking back there, and all of a sudden I pick up this dollar. It's a $1 bill that's just, breezing through the yard. I pick it up, and all the numbers were 11, 11, 11, 11. I still have it. I kept it, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Because all the numbers on the $1 bill were 11s. And then I remember being mind blown, but it just seems like, yeah, the numbers, like you said, it's constant. It's just constant. And it's just like, it's just part of whatever is happening, but it's cool. It's still
Well, like
cool
what
because
happened? Like how the fuck did it even happen? Like it's so weird. It was like the moment the twin flame thing happened and spirituality happened, that's when they started to appear. And I was like, I've never experienced this shit before. Like, what the fuck is this? You
well, my
know?
my coach talked about it. He said you'll still see the numbers even after everything is apparently over, and you've transcended the whole twin flame thing. He said the synchronicities still continue, and the numbers you see them, you still continue to see them.
It's just I mean, we'll never know. We'll never
No,
know why that
right.
happened the way it happened, but it's just it, and I still get that sense that comes up like, oh, it's like that sense of like, oh my gosh, like, oh, like that awe feeling when you see it, but there's no more like looking and seeking, reaching, trying to figure, looking it up and trying to figure out what it means.
Right.
Because I don't know. I don't know why all this is apparently happening. But I see 1111 a lot, and 222. It's constant. It's been like for the last 2 weeks I've been seeing it, and it's like back to back to back to back to back. I'm so used to it now, but still it's just wow. I don't know.
Me too, but it still feels kind of magical. I mean, not with
Yeah.
it attached heavy, but it still feels like, because it's just so like, you look at the clock or you do this and it's right there and it's so constant. You can't
Yeah.
miss it. You can't miss it. It's
No.
just it's look, right now it's 8:11, and I just looked at the clock and it's
Yeah.
8:11. I mean, he's gone
Crazy.
now. It's just so funny. I mean,
It
it's
is.
constant. And what made me just look at that clock? What made me tilt my head that way?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like all of a sudden, like literally when I was backing out, like I was like backing out of my out of my driveway, and something made me look at the light post. I don't know why, but I just looked at the light post and there was a crow sitting there and it was just looking at me. And I went, oh, okay. And then I kept looking at it like, what the hell's going on here? And then as I'm driving further along, another one popped. This is when the twin flame thing was really in my face. Like, really like I was going through it, the emotions and everything, apparently. So I'm like, and then one hopped on another one. He was just staring at me. And then another one on another one, and it guided it all the way to work. And then after that, it was non-stop. Like me and Tani, I remember we would go to this lighthouse. It was our thing. We just felt the need to go to this lighthouse. Me and her, we went on some little really neat trips. We went through the whole Twin Flames thing together. And when we drove out to this lighthouse, we would see so many things, magical things apparently, on our way going. Like first it would start with a white dog. We'd see a white dog, and then we see another white dog and another white dog as we're going along. And I'm like, why are we seeing all these white dogs? I mean, just pure white. And then when we got there, this lady approached us, and she was from Japan. She was here visiting, and she knew our names. She knew who we were. Yeah, it was weird. She said, can I walk with you guys? So we were like, yeah. So she walked with us, and she was like, sometimes in life, she says, sometimes in life, you meet someone and you don't know why you met them. She was like, you, Shannon. She knew my name. And I looked at Tani and I'm like, right? She was like, you, Shannon, you walk around like you have this hard exterior, but inside you're like a teddy bear. She could describe me to a T. Like she was saying things and she was like, and then Tani, she told Tani about herself. And we just walked along the path, like coming from the lighthouse, and we were looking at all these historical houses. And at the end, she said, well, I gotta go now. She goes, but it was nice to meet you guys. And she goes, can I have a hug? She gave us a hug, and that was it. It was the last time we ever saw her, but it was like, where did she come from? What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
It was it's unexplainable. I don't know how she knew me and Tawny's name, how she knew what our personality, apparently our personalities, like all this shit. And me and Tawny, we would go through these things all the time together when things would just happen around us. And it was so unexplainable. And we loved being around each other because of it. Because we knew when the moment we were together, things were going to crack off. But still, there's no explanation for it, though. There's no reason or rhyme or reason why, but apparently it happened. All this shit happened.
Well, I think you've got something with the bird thing, because the same thing happened to me. Like I would see tons of crows, even here. Like sometimes the entire tree is filled with them across the street, and I'm like, "What is this? Invasion of the Birds from Howard Hitchcock?" I'm like, "What the hell is this with all these fucking birds everywhere?" But even the other day when I sent you those pictures, like there was just like, and they were buzzards, but there was tons of them like in the trees near me. And I'm like, this is so weird. And then I went outside one day and this is in my old house. And this was shortly after my son went missing. There was a bird that was sitting like on my fence right in front of me. And I don't know, it was a mockingjay or something, but it would not stop looking at me and talking. It was looking at me going, blah, 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 blah,
Wow.
blah. And it was just like, and I'm like, I remember saying to it, like, is that you, son? Like, what's going, you know what I mean? Because it was so obvious this bird had something to say to me. I didn't know what it was trying to communicate, but it was just blah, 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 right on my fence, literally 5 feet from me. But yeah, the bird thing, I think there's something to it because I've seen since this apparent journey too, like tons of birds and yeah, flocks of crows that I never really either I didn't notice before or I'm seeing more of them now. I don't know.
When you showed me the birds, when you were worried about it, somebody being like something happened, immediately when I saw the birds, when you sent me that, I knew it was you and not someone else. Immediately, like I knew it, but then I was like, well, no, let her go and find out because that's something that she. This is the things that happen with me. Like I get senses from people, things come up, and most people would say, "Oh, you're psychic," blah 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 blah. Whatever. Apparently, in the story, I'm considered that, but I knew right away. I was like, "That's for her," and I linked your son with it.
Yeah.
I put the two, and I don't know why, but I did. And I said, no, there's nobody there. It's for her.
I felt my parent son's energy that day. I felt it that day there too. Like sometimes I do feel like energetically I still feel him. Like I can't describe it because there's no way to describe it. It's not of this illusionary world. It's more of an energetic
Yeah.
presence of him, this peacefulness that I know he's in it. I'm not saying he is it, he's in it, which is in
Yeah.
everything.
And I was talking to my daughter about that, because she brings up death a lot too. Because she's like, Mom, we don't know like what's gonna happen, like where she goes, I won't exist anymore and all this stuff. And I didn't want to say, well, you don't already exist, but I didn't want to say all that, right? But I got what she was saying. She was, Mom, you just don't know. Like that's the thing is like you don't know what happens after and all this stuff. I said, yeah, I know it's the mystery, Janae. You know, it frightens her too as well. It's a trauma
Yeah.
for me and it comes up a lot. And I think it does for my kid. But like I said, but back to the birds, I just knew like right away when you showed me that, I was like, but I knew you wanted to go find out stuff, as I was like,
Yeah. The guy rode his bike out of the woods. It was fine.
Yeah.
I don't know what
No,
he was doing there, but he was fine.
yeah,
Because
like I got, go ahead.
I was still sitting there at the table when I was talking to you, and all of a sudden I look at the guy comes out of the woods on his bicycle and he rides right by me. I'm like, how you doing?
Oh, wow.
So yeah, the bird thing, yeah.
It is.
Crazy though. It's crazy how many there are. You can't miss it.
No, they get your attention. They do. It's weird. Like when I walked out the house today to go warm up my car, a bunch of pigeons just flew right over me. And then they were circling around in the air, just right around me. And I just looked up. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, but it's just like, it's like you just gotta fly, you just gotta go with it. But it's just like, and I was just like, good morning, you know. And
Yeah.
something, my twin flame, apparently, one day, you know how they say weird things, like they say things that are subliminal and you
Yeah.
don't get it until later. Well, for me,
Yeah.
it was. I didn't realize it until later, but I remember one time me and him were laying in my bed and he said, now I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what he meant then, but he said, birds are drawn to you. And at the time, I didn't know about, I was into birds or nothing like that. And he just said, he goes, birds are drawn to you. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, I just kind of listened to him. He goes, they are. He goes, you're like Snow White. He goes, the birds are drawn to you. And then surely, after that, That's when, after the whole twin flame thing, that's when I started noticing birds. It's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing, but it's
My
unexplainable.
twin used to repeat things. Like when I would say something, he would sometimes like look at me and repeat the exact same thing I said. And it was weird. I remember thinking, I mean, I would laugh and say, honey, why did you just repeat the exact same thing I said? And he would look at me like blank eyed and go, I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I would laugh. But I mean, he did that at least 2 or 3 times, or I'd say it and then he would say it. And I'm like, honey, I just said that. And I go, you heard me say it. And I go, why did you just repeat what I said? And he would just look at me with this like look of, I don't know why I did that. Like it was just weird. And then he'd
Wow.
say, like, I would walk down the hall or I'd do something and he'd go, there I am. Because we used to say all the time, I am
Yeah.
you and you. I used to say you were the male version of me. Oh my God, you walk like me, you talk like me. And he'd say the same thing. He'd go, yeah, you're the female of. And if I did something that was like what he would do, like the way he would do it, he'd go, there I am. And I would laugh. I'm like, oh yeah, there's you. But it was a thing before the twin flame thing ever came in. So when he left,
Yeah.
I think sometimes those things happen so that when it's almost like, I mean, it's the story, but verifies what we found out later, like
Later.
that there was these little telltale clues, these Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs to show you that was real.
It is. It's like because like a lot of the things that he said then, now when I look back, it's like, oh my God, what the heck? And he would always know. He would say what I was thinking. That used to
Yeah.
blow my mind. Like I think one time I had said I was thinking something, and he said it, he was thinking something, and I would say it. He goes, I was just thinking that,
Yeah.
and it would just
Yeah.
be so weird. But it's like back then I didn't know any of that. I was so clueless to shit, man, when it came to all that. But we were having apparently some type of telepathy thing going on between each
Yep.
other. It was weird. And
And
he would know if he wasn't in the room, like if he wasn't even around me, he would tell me what the hell I was doing. And he would be at home and I'd be at home, but he would know what the fuck I was doing. And I'm like, and literally, like, I would get so like shook that I would be like looking out my window to see if he was around. It's like, what? How the fuck does he know this? I mean, it would creep me out, really.
I love little nuances though. I loved like the telepathic, like I would think this happened so often that it became normal. I mean, like I was with my twin, for 2.5 years. So, but like I would think, oh, David, I need to call David. And it happened so often, boom, the text would come. Or I'd call him and he was like, he had a southern accent. I literally had the phone in my hand. I was just about to call you. I mean, it was just, it was just like, and
Oh,
it's so constant and I would just remember thinking, how magical is this? How magical is this? So
weird. It
yeah, like
is.
it was it's just like you can't miss it when it's your twin. I just think I mean, you may not see it when you're with them, but it's like after the apparent repelling and there's the push pull and you each go your own way. It's almost like when somebody does needle point and it's flipped on the back side of it, you can't see what the picture is. It just looks like strings that are going through a material, and you flip it over and there's that hummingbird. You know what I mean? You've
Yeah.
been, it's like that. At least it felt like that, like the big picture after everything appeared to happen and there was the apparent awakening. It just, as more of the character fell away, at least here, it became so much more apparent that it was real. I mean, in the beginning, I used to question it all the time. Is there a twin flame? Bullshit. That's just a bunch of bullshit. This can't be real. There can't be, blah, blah, blah. It's not real. Can't be real. Like then there was just this constant energetic teetering back and forth.
Yeah.
The more peaceful, the more of that falls away, the doubt and all that, the more I the more I know it happened. You know what I mean? The more it feels
I mean,
real.
apparently it happened. We just don't know what it is. We
Yeah,
don't know what you call it. Oh, in the
everything.
story, we call it twin flame, right? We call it twin
Yeah.
flame, but we really don't. And it's so funny you brought up the 2 year thing with you and yours, because the 2.5 years with
Yeah.
Angel, it was two. With you know who was 2.5 years, and with the third one was 2.5 years, but with the second one, it was 3 months.
Yeah. And that apparently in the twin flame lore is normal. It's 3 to 6 months. That's usually when they're apparently the energies of
But for
repel. I
you,
mean,
it was two, though, right?
for me, it was 2.5 years, but
That's what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. That's why with the first one, it was 2.5, like yours, and then with the third one, it's two. It was 2.5. But then with the
it's
second
scary.
one, it was 3 months.
Yeah. And, according to the coaches that I had, like I watched and followed, they said that you could be married to your twin flame for 20 years and all of a sudden this happens. And you never recognize them as that before. And then apparently the energies can build up and boom, you're on this apparent journey. Like you start to go through the purging and the kundalini and all the crazy energetic changes, the crying, the purging, like all of it.
And then
Um,
they say some they do recognize right away. You
yeah.
know, some do say they recognize them right away.
There's no pattern really.
And there isn't. It's what I'm saying. It's like there's really no telling. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason why things happen the way they did for me. It was like an order.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
weird. It was just like an order. But it's like, and I was talking to my friend, I was like, when the first one came along, like I didn't know anything. I didn't know what he was. But it was almost like with him, it was like he was getting me ready. He was getting me
Yeah.
ready, right? And then here comes the one with the whole Kundalini awakening and blah, blah, blah that happens, right? He comes shortly after I walk away from the first guy.
Yeah.
All right. So then I go through the whole, dark night, really dark, like bad. And then finally I decide to, I start to be okay. And then as when I'm okay is when I meet the third one. Okay.
Yeah.
And then shortly after the third one, I was still okay with I was okay when I met the third one. I wasn't as half as bad. And then here comes the second one again.
Yeah.
So it's like they both get me like worked up for that one to keep coming back and forth, the middle one to keep coming in and out. It's weird. I don't know. I will never know. It's so weird.
One either. Like if you do reach a point though, for those of you who are watching who are thinking that you'll never, and it does feel like you will never ever get over it. I get it. It feels like you will never, ever, ever be okay, and that they will. You're because you set obsessive thoughts. They're so consuming. But you will. It will pass, and you will come out the other side. Bet you'll just your whole life changes. Everything changes,
Yeah.
and it's normal, and it feels. I mean, this is not an absolute, but in from what I hear, my experience, and most of the folks I've talked to, come out better. And there's this love of you love, you don't loathe, at least here, you don't, Shannon, do you have this? You don't loathe yourself anymore. There's none of that mean
Mm.
spirited hatred anymore. It's gone. And there's just this, they call it self-love. That's a label, but for me, it feels like acceptance. There's nothing about me that I don't accept anymore. And I don't hate anything about me anymore. I may say, oh, I'm chubby or whatever, but there's no this me. There's none of that. It feels natural and peaceful most of the time. I mean, you can have all these things come up, anger, joy, unhappiness, rage, whatever, but there's no attachment apparently anymore. It doesn't feel like um you hate yourself anymore. At least that's me.
Well, with me, it still comes up like I am the worst critic of myself, especially when it comes to my body. Even though when I look in the mirror, like I used to be big. Like I had I was bigger than what I was. If you go all the way down in my videos, you'll come across a few videos where I look different, and I went and I lost a lot of weight. But even though I've lost all the weight, when I look in the mirror, I still see a big person. So that still comes up for me, but it doesn't stick, right? Like it used to, but I still critique myself. You know what I mean? But I know that that's just what's happening, and there's no getting out of that. That's just, it will stop when it stops. But
Me too.
I'm still hard on myself at times. I do. I look at myself sometimes and I'm just like, God, I could use a bit of this done to me, or.
Oh, I think that doesn't go away. I don't mean like you
Yeah.
just like look in the mirror and go, I'm a goddess. But
Yeah.
I think that all the like, and I still like will say, oh God, I'd like to have that clipped a little, maybe a little Botox up here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still like that comes up, but there's no like feeling like I would be so much better. There's no insecurity. It feels like that anymore. Like, like if I don't do it, I'm fine too. You know what I mean? There's an acceptance that wasn't there before, at least here, of my appearance, of everything, of my faults, apparent faults, the character, how she behaves. Yeah, it can come up to say, I'm probably shouldn't have said that, or I could have kept my mouth shut during that, but there's no beating myself up.
Yeah, no, I don't beat
Beating.
myself up, but I know, like, even like I said, with my looks and everything, like, I want a tummy tuck. I want a tummy
Yeah,
tuck so bad. I hate when I look at my stomach. It just doesn't look like I used to before I had my daughter. So it's like,
right.
I'm constantly doing this. Like, I'm constantly like, oh, I need to get this done. I need to do that, but it doesn't stick. Like you said, it's just, it comes and goes. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. But yeah, I don't
And that's
know.
okay, because it's still all just what's happening. I mean,
Yeah, that's
it's
exactly it. It's just what's
I don't
happening.
know about you, but like I really have lost my fear of death though. I'm not afraid at all, like at all. And I
That's my
used to be.
problem. No, with me, I still have that fear. Like it's a fear of like, I can't even explain it. It's like I think of my babies. Like
Yeah,
when I'm gone, like I just want to, I don't want to leave them. I don't want to
right.
leave my baby, and it comes up
I
a lot, like sicknesses and illnesses come up. Like I
Yeah,
swear to God, sometimes I'm just like, I need to stay away from social media because it really triggers me because they show so much shit. And
oh,
a
they
lot of
do.
it's, death and, illnesses. And but I did lose a large amount of family within a year. And it was my uncle, but it was both my uncles, my grandmother, and my aunt. They all died within a year.
Yeah.
And to really weird shit, like my aunt, she died of Lou Gehrig's disease. My uncle had AIDS. My uncle Rick was murdered. My grandmother died of an asthma attack. This all happened back to
Oh,
back to back to back. As a teenager, I had to see this. And it's still a trigger for me. Like if I hear any illnesses or anything that goes wrong in my body, automatically I'm like, what's going to happen to me? Am I dying? You know what I mean? It's like I get really
you experienced a lot of death at once that can like put a lot of fear into the body as well. I just
yeah.
don't know why, but that seemed to fall away. Like I used to be afraid, and now I'm just like not. Like I just feel like this isn't even real. This is not even really. It just feels like that for me. Like it doesn't even feel like. I just feel like I'm just whatever's unfolding. But I just feel like this safety in death now that I didn't have before. That I don't know why. I just don't. I'm not afraid
That's
of it.
just what's
Afraid of any.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
With
mean, not
me,
that it can come back. It could come back. I'm sure
mhm.
anything could happen. You
Yeah,
know.
that's just it. Anything can happen. Like anything's possible, apparently. And for me, it still comes up, but there's no stickiness though. It just comes up. And then I
Yeah.
go into that dark place. And then it goes away. Like I'll literally go to my friend John and talk about it with him. I'm like, oh my God, I think this is that and that. And all of a sudden I'm done talking about it. And it's on to the next.
Right.
But it sucks ass. It sucks ass when it comes up. I'm just like, fuck, man, shit, don't want to feel it, shit. And you have no, there's nothing you can do to get out of that. It is what
Yeah.
it is, you
I have
know?
we all have this stuff, the stuff that triggers fear, and it's like you, the grandkid stuff. Not as much as it used to, but I still like, even we're at the beach today with my 18-month-old grandson, and I think about like my daughter's out there waist deep in the water all by herself and there's no other people around, and I immediately, the mind goes to, what if a shark bites them? What if a shark comes and gets them? And I'm gonna have to swim out there and wrestle the shark. It's like, in your mind, like, oh God, get out of the water. That thought comes up, like,
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun's going down, that's when they feed, and you're out there with that baby, and the fear is in the head, like, oh God. But then it goes away. Like, it's like, because I look at it and go, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Creating this whole story around the shark going to eat your grandson.
Same here. I do that too. I'm like, why am I doing this? And my daughter told me, she's like, Mom, you're putting that out there. She's like, can you
Oh,
please
yeah.
stop? Because I told her, I said, grab the leash. That's why I said, grab the leash. Because we put her on a leash. My grandbaby, because we don't want
No,
to.
I used to do that. I did that with
Yeah,
my son when he was 3. I put
yeah,
him on a.
but it's safe to me. And I said, now it's a backpack. They put a backpack on it and it
Yeah.
has the leash. So I said,
Yeah.
Johnny, put her on a leash. She goes, Mom, how the hell is she going to play? She said, you got to stop this, Mom. But it's like, and I said, I know. And I tell her that. I said, I know. I
Right.
know.
It's
I
my
said, but
stuff.
yeah. And I said, it will stop when it stops, Janae. I said, but as of now, it is what it is. And she's like, she gets really irritated with me.
If I said anything I didn't say anything to my daughter because this was all going up here in the water. I've learned, because if I said to her, when I was thinking, y'all be careful out there because of the shark, she would have completely looked at me and said, please don't put your fears on my life, Mom. And
That's
so I didn't say anything because I know, like, that's my stuff. Like, go out and enjoy your
yeah,
baby. And the chance of the shark coming up and eating you and my grandson are like 1 in a million. But
right.
yeah, that comes up. But like you said, no attachment. It doesn't linger. I don't think all night about how, oh Lord, thank God they got out of the water before that
I know.
shark came. Like, there's no story around it anymore.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
no
it would
story.
carried over to the next event, you know what I mean? Because before, I would create so much fear about the loss of my grandkids that I was constantly having torturing myself that they're going to get kidnapped, or they're going to get hit by a car, or what if this happens, or what if they choke on this piece of this grape? Make sure to cut the grapes in fours, like crazy. Like, I was so crazy about,
Yeah,
like, trying to prevent anything from happening to the babies.
same
And now it's
here.
happening. You can only be like preventative, but whatever's going to unfold is going to unfold, and there's no one doing it.
There's
So,
no one doing, there's nothing really. There's nothing at all. So we're almost down to 1 minute, but I'm glad we
okay.
got back on here. This was a good
Yeah, that's
conversation.
a fun
For,
one. They're all
yeah.
fun, but I
We
enjoy
were all over the place, twin flames, birds, and
buzzards,
right? But
sharks, and
hey,
babies.
but it just goes to show that this is a safe space for us to talk about whatever. But well, this was fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. But until
So
next
we'll see you
time, huh?
next week. I said,
Oh
we'll see you
yeah, or
next.
maybe even sooner than that. Who knows?
Okay.
Whenever you feel like having one, just let me know. We'll just go on.
Me too.
All right.
And
Well, I will talk to you soon. Again.
okay. Love you, girl.
I love
Bye,
you
everybody.
too. Bye bye.